My name is Hayden. I'm 21 years old and I drive a 2001 Lexus IS300. I bought an IS300 because I totaled my car before it. I had a 2006 WRX that I drove for like 6 months. Ended up rear-ending somebody on a pizza delivery because I wasn't paying attention and looking in front of me. So that was great. And then insurance cashed me out, and I had always been into drifting and wanted to do it and wanted a car that was capable of doing it. And was now in the market for a new vehicle. And as time went on and as I had my Subaru, I learned more and more of what IS300s were. And for the longest time, I didn't like what they looked like. I didn't like them aesthetically. But once I learned about the power plant and everything and just what the chassis was, I started to love them more and more. And when the opportunity arose, I ended up finding a 2004 black sport design that was a 5-speed, had like 130,000 miles on it when I bought it. So I drove that for 2.5 years, almost 3 years. Well, yeah, almost 3 years. Yeah, no, actually like 3 years on the dot, just about. And then I totaled that in November of last year, tandeming with a friend. Spun out in front of him because I didn't have enough angle and too much momentum, and he hit me head on. It was wonderful, great situation to be in. If you haven't been in a situation like that, highly recommend. Just kidding. Don't total your cars on back roads or on public roads. It really sucks and it's painful. So I totaled that car. I pulled the engine and transmission out, pulled all my parts off of it, cut the front end off of it, and that car is still sitting to this day. And I ended up picking up this thing for $1,000 from a friend. It was having issues and he didn't want to deal with it. So I pulled the automatic transmission and that engine out, and then I did my whole 5-speed swap and put all my parts on it, and here we are today, a year later. Well, not a year later, almost a year later. We're like 8 months later. My first 3 mods on my IS300 were... What were my first 3 mods? Well, the car already had BC coilovers and an LSD from the factory, so I just drove like that for the longest time. And then my first mods were, let's see. I did a D&D quick release steering wheel, Sparco Sprint seat and harness. I guess that's kind of 3 in itself, but we'll include the seat and the harness in one. And then I welded the diff on this one. But for the longest time, I just drove with, a completely stock car with, coilovers and the factory LSD, and had 2 years of seat time, 2.5 years of seat time like that. And then when I got this chassis and I kind of rebuilt it, that's when I put a KFD tuning shop knuckle kit on it. I welded the 3.9 differential, and then I had my bucket seat and my steering wheel, and that's how I'm driving the car today. So it's still relatively stock. I do have an intake and heat shield and the Mishimoto radiator and just a resonator muffler delete. But as far as the engine and drivetrain goes, it's relatively stock for the most part. My favorite 3 mods would be my BC Racing BR Series coilovers, my KFD tuning shop knuckle kit, gives me about 55 or so degrees steering angle, and my Sparco Sprint seat. Well, if I decide to keep this car, then I would love to put a 1JZ GTE in it, preferably non-VVTi, and an R154 transmission, because I would blow up the W55 relatively quickly, possibly. I don't know, it depends. But with how I drive it, I would probably blow up the W55 after turning up the boost a little bit. I have that black IS300 that I mentioned in that we've shown previously. I really want to get that going and kind of turn that into a Pro-Am build. I've been talking about it for a long time, but I haven't done anything to actually act on it yet. So if I were to logically think about it, the future of this car would be to keep it how it is right now. I finally got it dialed. It's my Seat Time Stallion. I have all the mods on it that I've wanted to do. And my funding would go towards rebuilding the black car and turning that into a Pro-Am chassis. So I guess the future of this car stays the same, and I just get seat time. But the future of the black car would be to resurrect that and to really make that into a monster. I've almost hit cows with this car. It was a rainy day, and I found a couple extra tires that I didn't know that I had. And so me and the boys went out for a fun rainy session on some back roads. And I'm linking this road, and you are following me, Dylan is following me in the chase. And I go to reinitiate into this right-hand corner, and there were cows in the middle of the road. And so I just kind of slid to a stop and was like 6 or so feet from hitting a calf and a mama cow. So I guess that's probably a story that stands out the most with this thing, is almost sliding it into some cows. Social media I would like to plug would be my Instagram, hayden.r.collette. My username might change soon, though. I don't know. We'll see. That's my username as of right now. You can look me up at Hayden Collette also. I would like to plug Central Coast Garage, and I think that's about all the social media I would like to plug publicly. Publicly.